You guys remember when I made that video about how I was going to wrap up everything I was reading before I started a new series? Yeah, that was hilarious. Let's talk about this week. Hey, what's up, bookworms? Mike back with another weekly update, this time talking about all things going on the channel. Well, I mean, that's pretty much what they all do, but I don't know how else to open these besides to say that. Anyhow, guys, before we get started, let me give my quick little house cleaning here for you, give you an update on the subscriber count. We're still on track to pass that goal of 15,000 by my birthday. That's in 53 days from today. And we're getting there. We're getting there. Still keeping the same pace. It's just a personal goal. Again, it's nothing that's going to change anything on the channel or anything, but it's something that obviously you want to look forward to that next big milestone. And that is the next one, 15,000 subscribers. Also, guys, if you don't know, you can join the Discord. The description, the link is in the description below, and that is where you can talk to me or anybody really off of the channel. And I think that is the best way. The bigger that the channel gets, the harder it is for me to keep up with the comment sections. But on the Discord, it's pretty much like a phone straight to me. If you want to talk to me about anything, if you want to give me some feedback, anything you want to talk about at all, drop on the Discord, join us. I think it's a very, very fun and diverse conversation place for you to talk about all your favorite things, and not just books, anything you want to talk about, really. And lastly, if you like the channel and you appreciate what I do, and you want to help out the channel with things like upgrades and quality content, make sure you hit up the Patreon. Anything that you want to give, obviously is appreciated, but is not expected. Okay, house cleaning out of the way, guys. Let's talk about this week. First up, I've been reading Ghost Story, and I'm almost done. I've got like 60 pages left. And I know that seems crazy because I just put out my review for Changes yesterday. But what I said at the end of that review was that I needed about 5 or 6 days to recover from this book. So that's why the review took a little while. Because I usually like to do a Dresden Files review before I start the next one. Obviously, I'm trying to get these done before Peace Talks comes out in the middle of next month. We're not that far away. I mean, I think we're like, what, less than 5 weeks? 5 weeks away from Peace Talks? So, really put the pedal to the metal on this. I've been enjoying this. A lot of you guys have me spooked, pun intended, about Ghost Story because it just seems very divisive. People will either love it or hate it, and I'm falling on the camp that loves it. But I do acknowledge that I didn't have to wait, a year and a half between books. So I understand that's kind of like the Wheel of Time thing when people would complain about the slog, and I was like, I didn't think it was as bad as they said, but I also didn't have to wait during that time period. So it's probably going to be a little different for a binge reader than it is for for someone who had to wait between those. Because if I had to wait a year and a half and that was the story I got, I probably would have been a little disgruntled too. But as a binge reader, I am really very much enjoying it. And guys, you can laugh at me soon because I'll be caught up with you soon and I'll have to wait for the next Dresden book as well. I do want to say it was really cool. You guys wanted me to do that reaction video, and I did. And Jim Butcher himself actually tweeted that he enjoyed watching it, and that's just really cool. Something I've said on this channel is, look, this is not anything I want to do for money or anything. It's something, I'm sure it's fun, it helps, but this isn't anything I want to do for a job. It's about the books for me, and I can't think of a better compliment than making a video about an author's work and them watching it and appreciating it. That is everything to me. That's fantastic. So this channel continues to be about discussion and just sharing a love of books. And when you get an author who's sold millions of books say that they enjoyed your content, talking about their content, that's awesome. So I love that. I think that's up to like 3 now confirmed authors who have watched my content. John Gwynn, Jim Butcher, and Michael J. Sullivan. So if any others have, they haven't let me know. So guys, drop in the comments and let me know if you if you're an author and I've talked about your works. Speaking of John Gwynn, I'm finally over Ruin and started reading Wrath. And obviously the God War is coming. Dresden Files is the priority at this moment just because of the clock. But so I'm taking my time, as you can see with this, not very far into it yet. But again, guys, I can't say enough about the series. You can watch all the times I've talked about Faithful and the Fallen if you want to know why you should be reading this. But I'm nervous at this point for the series to end because I love these characters and I don't want to see them go. So that's really where I'm at right now. And it's one of those things where it's a 4-book series, and I felt like he could have actually broke this out to about 7 books, and it probably would have been fine. I'm glad he didn't, because I think that makes it a much more enjoyable read, and I feel like so many authors do that now. They're taking 5 books to tell what a trilogy used to. And God, I'm just going to hate leaving these characters, because I know that there is the next series that takes place in the same world, but it's 100 years later, and it's different characters. I'm going to be very sad to see these characters go. But hopefully it'll be like Era 2 of Mistborn. And speaking of Era 2 of Mistborn, I did do my review for The Alloy of Law, a book that I enjoyed quite immensely. I'm not going to rehash what I said the last couple of weekly updates about how much I enjoyed this book, but I did do the review for that, and I will be continuing to talk about all things Cosmere over the rest of this year, leading up to the release of Rhythm of War this fall. So that's kind of what I've got going on my current reading plans. I'm going to be taking a vacation soon, which I'll talk about in a minute, and I think that'll let me catch up on everything I'm planning on reading here. Let's talk about a couple of, I don't want to say news items. George R.R. Martin, you remember like a year ago, he said if Winds of Winter isn't out by July 29th, 2020, fans, they can imprison me in my house until I finish it. Clock's ticking, dude. Alexa, how many days until July 29th?
July 29th, 2020 is in 48 days.
48 days. I don't know if you guys could hear that or not. 48 days. Since he hasn't even turned it over to the publisher yet, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that ain't going to happen. Now, guys, look, I'm playing it up here. I accepted a long time ago this ain't happening. Okay? And when it does happen, it'll just kind of come out of nowhere. That's how I feel about it. So, yeah, when he actually first said that, I laughed about it. And maybe he just could foresee the whole Voldemort virus that's going around right now. And he knew that he was going to be imprisoned in his home anyway because of that. I don't know. I see people getting so mad about it. And I'm just like, it's just, there's so many good fantasy authors out there right now that write, whose series are completed, that you just, it's a time to quit whining about fantasy authors who just won't write, and read the ones that do, because there's some really good ones out there. There are some really, really good ones out there, guys, that we just, I mean, it's a thing, because I was as big of an Ice and Fire fan as anyone has ever been, and this was before the show even came out, and it's just I don't want to say I don't care, because that would insinuate that I'm not going to read it if it does come out. I am, of course I am. Just I've stopped counting on it happening. Okay, moving on. I did put up a voter poll about those series that I joked about in the intro there that I said I wanted to finish before I started any new ones. And I mean, it's still kind of the case, but here's the thing, guys. The first one I picked up to try to finish was Emperor of Thorns by Mark Lawrence. That is the third book in the Broken Empire trilogy. And I know it's kind of unpopular in these parts, because that series is very popular. It's just not clicking for me, man. I loved that first book quite a bit. Book 2 was iffy, and then book 3 is just, I'm at like the 55% mark, and it is the very essence of a slog. I just cannot get through it. And that's when I said, you know what? I'm not going to do this if it's not going to be fun. So I didn't DNF it, but I shelved it again. But the whole point of this is I put up a poll saying, here's 5 series that I said I would like to finish before the end of the year. The Millennium Trilogy by Stieg Larsson. It was Reria Revelations by Michael J. Sullivan. It was, God, what else? Witcher by Sapkowski. I should have wrote these down before I started. Anyhow, I put up 5 series, and I won't lie, I was kind of pulling for Rhaenyra, because I really wanted to go back to Royce and Hadrian. But Witcher's winning by landslide. So I think people want to hear me go back to The Witcher. So I think what I'll do is I'll prioritize those 2 series, the Witcher and Rhaenyra, before I really, not before I get into another series, which I'm going to talk about here in a second. But I don't think I'm going to just completely just speed run The Witcher. Obviously, there's too much going on this year for me to do that. But I don't imagine it would be a problem if I, took until the end of the year to finish this. But if that's what you guys want me to talk about, obviously that's what I'm going to talk about. The channel is about discussion. And if it's something that's going to make you guys discuss books with me, obviously that's what I want to talk about. So thank you for voting, for those who did. And those who are disappointed, don't worry. Everything on that list is eventually going to get read. Okay. So, Demon Cycle. Demon Cycle was the other one. Oh, poor Demon Cycle. Correspondent. I'm not done this yet. I did talk about buying the Kindle Oasis. I talked about that a couple weeks ago that I was thinking about doing. Well, I went ahead and did it. And I did a video and one thing was, I can't really call it just a review of the Oasis, is because I really did it as a, should you upgrade from the Paperwhite to the Oasis? I think that was the best way, because I think just about everyone at this point has some type of e-reader and they're curious about the Oasis. So basically what I wanted to get across was it worth the money? So watch that review for that answer. I think I was pretty fair on it. Something that I kind of pushed back against with my first couple of Kindle videos was like, oh, why are you reviewing these? There's plenty of tech channels out here who do a better job of it. Yeah, there are tech channels who will tell you how fast these things are, how many pixels there are, how many LED lights there are, or whatever. But if you want to know from a booktuber, someone who reads a lot, I think that opinion is valuable. So I really didn't mean to come off as arrogant. I really would hope not, because if you knew anything about me personally, arrogance is not in there anywhere. But apparently I have a high ego because I collect books. Drop in the comments if you want to know about that, or come on the Discord. It's a big laugh. It's a big laugh. But anyway, Kindle Oasis, I think it's a great device. It's a great device. But if you have a Paperwhite, I think you'll be fine sticking with that. But again, if you're in a situation like me where your wife was looking to upgrade and she was going to get her own Paperwhite, why not use that as an opportunity to get a new device and test them out? So that's what I did, and I felt like that was my first justifiable business expense for the channel. And anyhow, at least that's what I'm telling myself. All right, what I meant about not changing any or starting any new series before I finish those is next year on the channel, starting in January, I've talked multiple times about how I'm going to be starting Malazan as my next great big series after I finish Wheel of Time. I wanted some time to recharge those batteries before I got to a series that heavy again. And Malazan was a poll I took, and it won in a landslide. Everybody wanted me to do Malazan. But the thing that surprised me is how many people that watch the channel, or that are in the Discord, that follow me on Twitter, all that say they want to join in that warband and read along with me. So I said, okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do like a test run. I'm going to do a smaller series before that to try to just make sure anything that I feel like is a problem didn't work out, then I'll know, so I don't have to rearrange my entire schedule when Malazan starts. So the series that we've picked to start on is just 4 books long. It is complete. It is by Sebastian de Castell. It's called The Greatcoats. And book 1 is called The Trader's Blade. And the plan is to start this in August. What we're going to do is one book per month, August, September, October, November. That is, I think that's a speed that anyone really can keep up with, because they don't look like really meaty reads or anything. I feel like it is something where no one's going to feel like they're getting left behind. If you want to read ahead, obviously that's not a problem. But if you want to take your time with it, or if you're like me and you're reading other things at the same time, why not? But the whole reason we're doing it there is August is because I don't want this to interfere with finishing Dresden Files, and then I want to make sure that my November is clear for when Rhythm of War comes out. So I think doing 1 per month, August, September, October, November. Obviously, you would start that one November really early if you want to get there before. Oh, I just kicked the camera. Before Rhythm of War comes out. I gotta quit doing that. Long ass big feet. Anyhow, you know what they say about big feet, right? Big shoes. I'll be here all week, guys. Tip your waitresses. I do want to talk about my vacation. I am taking a vacation here. It was a trip that we had already paid for before this whole Voldemort thing happened. And we'd already paid for it. And they were like, hey, do you want to reschedule it? And we were thinking about it. And it was kind of like a celebration of both me finishing school, business school, and also celebrating our 10 years of marriage. And we're going to Jamaica. And we were like, okay, I guess with this whole thing that's going around, I guess we can't do it. Well, they are opening back up Jamaica on July 5th or something like that, July 13th, something like that. And our trip, June, I think. Anyway, obviously, because my trip is in 2 weeks. But the point is that we are taking this vacation, and I just want to let you know that I do have content planned to pre-record before I go. It's kind of what I did when I took the trip last year, and I had just some videos drop while I was gone. Same thing kind of happens and whatnot. So I want you guys to be encouraged to still comment on that stuff, and I will respond when I get back. Just don't like to leave you guys hanging for a whole week without a video. That would just be rude of me, right? As a content creator, that would be really, really rude. That, and I'm going to give an actual more in-depth discussion about the Malazan and the Greatcoats read-alongs in an individual video. I'm going to do that probably next week sometime, along with my shelf tour, which I'm thinking about breaking into a couple of videos just because there's a lot of books to talk about. So we'll see. We'll see what happens there. Let's talk about some non-book stuff, sort of. How about we talk about adaptations based off of book stuff? Artemis Fowl is apparently like one of the worst adaptations ever, and I find that hard to believe in a world where Aragon and Percy Jackson the Lightning Thief exist. I have a hard time believing it's worse than that, but apparently it is. It went direct to Disney Plus. I know fans that read that book were very, very, very upset when they saw that trailer. Apparently your fears were justified, because apparently it's one of the worst things that Disney has ever made, and I find that very, very hard to believe. But again, like I've always said before, I don't feel like Disney Studios is this infallible studio that the internet tries to pretend that they are just because of the MCU, which obviously was already intact before they even acquired them. So, yeah, Disney is definitely not perfect. I mean, if you watch the live-action remakes of a lot of their cartoons, yeah, pretty rough. Anyhow, that's just I don't even know if we'll even watch this. It's coming on Disney Plus. We get it for free. I mean, I was like, well, we watched Bright after it got trashed by critics, and we actually ended up kind of enjoying it for what it was. And a lot of those direct to home video kind of things or streaming service thing, I felt like there was a little bit of bias in that from reviewers because they feel like, people not going to the theater is going to make them end up losing their jobs. So I understand. I feel like sometimes they kind of review bomb those. Again, that's just my theory. It might not be true. Don't take it personal if you're a movie critic. I don't know why you'd be watching this if you're a movie critic. But that's just kind of my thing. But I was never really interested in Artemis Fowl as is. My wife read the first book, and she hated it. So I just kind of took her advice and didn't even read it. Because in the time when it was really popular, I was like, oh, sweet, this is going to be like, the next Harry Potter, right? Well, apparently not. Apparently not. Anyhow, that is apparently what's going on there. Shadow and Bone. Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo. I mentioned the series in the female authors that I'd like to read soon. And you guys know I'm not a big YA fantasy fan. But I've constantly heard that, yes, it's YA fantasy. Yes, there's some cringe stuff in there. But she's a very good writer. So I said I would be interested in checking that series out before the Netflix series comes out. I don't know if that's actually going to happen before the Netflix series comes out. It is in the can. And, before all this happened, and Leigh herself has actually said they're still saying it's going to come out before the end of the year. Well, they just hired a composer, Joseph Trapanese, and very good composer, in my opinion. He did Tron Legacy with Daft Punk. He did The Greatest Showman. In my opinion, he was the best thing about the Divergent movies, was his soundtrack. So the guy's got some talent. So I obviously, if you're going to have a fantasy story, you need to have some good epic music. So it raised my eyebrows a little bit. Obviously, they feel like they've got a hit on their hands. So let's hope. I would love to see more good fantasy adaptations, even if I'm not the target audience. Obviously, I think Shadow and Bone is probably going to be aimed at much younger audiences. I'm expecting like CW in quality with maybe a bigger budget. And that's fine. Not everything has to be for me. Like, I'm that person who's like, when my friends were getting mad about the new Ninja Turtles movies, I'm like, guys, we might have grown up on this, but they're obviously trying to rope in those new kids. Maybe it's not for you anymore. Maybe that's what happened with Star Wars, right? Who knows? Anyhow, I don't want to talk about Star Wars again. Last thing I talk about, my kid all of a sudden out of nowhere has become like a huge Godzilla fan. And I mean, look, apple tree. I mean, I was all about the monster movies when I was a kid. I watched the men in the rubber suits fighting in Godzilla movies, stuff like that. So I was all about that. So when he told me, yo, there's a movie coming out where Godzilla's going to fight King Kong, I'm like, yes, I do know about this. I had no idea you had an interest in this. He's like, monsters fighting? Yeah. I'm like, well, duh. So I told him, well, technically this is going to be the third or fourth movie in that movie universe. He's like, universe? What? So it's like the MCU but with monsters? I'm like, well, kind of. But to an 8-year-old kid, that sounds like incredible, right? So I didn't show him the 2014 Godzilla because I'm not going to lie, it was boring as shit, and I wasn't going to make him do that. And if you guys like that movie, I'm sorry. every time Godzilla showed up in that movie, the screen cut away. And that's like something that you do if you don't have a budget or something. And I know that the director, I forget his name, the guy that was originally doing Rogue One before Kathleen Kennedy undercut him too, he was saying that he felt like it was just building suspense towards the end. I'm like, no, you don't have a 2+ hour movie and have 6 minutes of Godzilla. You are intending to have Godzilla in your Godzilla movie, yes? That's how I felt the whole time watching that. So we started with Kong Skull Island, which I think is a very underrated movie. He loved it. And then we watched Godzilla King of the Monsters, and man, he just couldn't get enough of it. He's been playing with his Godzilla toys. I won't talk about how that movie ends, but he's talking about let's just say a final form of Godzilla in that movie, and how that's why he's going to beat King Kong. Well, the Kong and Godzilla movie is coming out this November. I was hoping that a trailer would drop before I recorded this, but apparently it's not gonna. The composer, they got a composer too, Junkie XL. I think he's really good. He did a Mad Max Fury Road. So the guy's got some talent. I think the new Snyder Cut's going to revert back to his soundtrack now. So he's a talented guy. I love movie soundtracks, in case you guys don't know. Big time. Big time. I think it's the best reading music. In fact, I've already got some reading music for this because for some reason I feel like it's like kind of piratey. And I think that's because it's sold as swashbuckling. And whenever I hear swashbuckling, I think pirates. So I was listening to this channel that I like on YouTube called Ambient Worlds. And they do one for Pirates of the Caribbean. And I was listening to that. And I was like, hey, I could do that while I would do Greatcoats. Now when I read that and it's not about pirates, I'm going to be very upset. I think someone actually described it to me as Joe Abercrombie writes the Three Musketeers. And I'm like, take all of my money right now. Anyhow, so Kong versus Godzilla. I know. I get all these comments about how I derail all the time. It is what it is at this point. You just do what you do. Anyhow, guys, what are you up to? What are you reading? What do you listen to? What are you playing? What are you watching? There are no wrong answers. Drop in the comments and let me know what you're up to. Thanks for watching, guys, and have yourselves a great, great weekend.